Since the beginning of recorded history, we know that mankind has been fascinated with death. Along with this fascination is murders. We put together our top 7 creepiest unsolved murder mysteries.
Number 7. Hinterkaifeck. On March 31st, 1922, the 6 residents of Hinterkaifeck, a small farm in Germany, were murdered with a small pickaxe. The victims were Andreas and Kazelia Gruber, their widowed daughter Victoria, her children Kazelia and Joseph, and the maid Maria Baumgartner. The Grubers' old maid left the family home 6 months earlier, having claimed that the home was haunted. Days before the murders, Andreas told neighbors he discovered a strange set of footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the home, but not back. He also said he was able to hear footsteps in the attic, and a set of keys had gone missing. After the murders, investigators believed that the family was led one by one into the barn to be killed before the murderer killed the maid and young Joseph in the house. Over 100 suspects were questioned, but not one of them was ever convicted of the crimes.
Number 6. Bible John. In the late 60s, 3 young Scottish women were murdered at the hands of a Bible-quoting murderer who came to be known as Bible John. All of the victims were strangled with their own stockings. Additionally, they were all menstruating at the time of their death, and the killer somehow knew this, as pads and tampons were placed all around the bodies of his victims. Jean Puddock, sister of the victim Helen Puddock, was able to provide the only known description of the killer after sharing a taxi with him and her sister for an hour. The man had identified himself as John Templeton and had extensively quoted from the Bible and even referred to the types of dance halls in which he met his victims as dens of iniquity. After Jean and her date exited the cab, Helen continued on with John, only to be found dead the next morning. The man disappeared without a trace.
Number 5. The Alphabet Murders. In the early 1970s, a series of killings brought the town of Rochester, New York, much fear. The victims in these cases were all young girls, but they all had something in common. Carmen Collin, Wanda Wolkowitz, and Michelle Mayenza all happened to have alliterative initials leading to the press to refer to the killings as the Alphabet Murders. Many people were questioned after the killings, and one of the suspects shortly after being investigated was for a long time thought to be the most likely culprit. 2007 DNA testing proved he was innocent. In 2011, 77-year-old New Yorker Joseph Nash was charged with murdering 4 women in the late 70s. Joseph probably would have never been considered for the killings in New York, except for the fact that his victims' names were Roxanne Rogish, Pamela Parsons, Tracy Toyota, and incredibly another Carmen Collin. Still to this day, nobody is sure if Joseph is the one who committed the murders in New York in the 70s.
Number 4. Jack the Ripper. One of the most famous unsolved murder mysteries in history is Jack the Ripper. Jack is known for his activity in the impoverished district of London in 1888. The victims of Jack the Ripper were most typically female prostitutes who would slit their throats before completely mutilating their abdomens. Investigators speculated that Jack had some type of anatomy experience, whether that of a butcher or a doctor, because of the removal of specific organs from his victims. Still to this day, nobody has the slightest clue who Jack the Ripper is.
Number 3. The Zodiac Killer. In the late 60s and early 70s in Northern California, a man only known to the public as the Zodiac Killer was roaming around. 4 men and 3 women between the ages of 16 and 29 were targeted. In August of 1969, he sent a letter to the local press, which was the first of a series of letters. In the letters, he took credit for the murders taking place in the area. These letters also included 4 cryptograms, which he claimed included his identity as well as other information. To this day, only one of the 4 have definitely been solved. The killer demanded that the cryptograms be on the front page of the press, or he would, quote, cruise around all weekend killing lone people in the night, then move on to kill again until I end up with 12 people over the weekend, end quote. No new information pertaining to the case has come up recently, and the Zodiac Killer has still not been found.
Number 2. The Doodler. Early morning on January 27, 1974, a body was found on the shore of San Francisco's Ocean Beach. The body was that of Gerald Early, a 49-year-old Canadian who had been living in San Francisco and worked at a mattress factory. Kavanaugh was the first victim in a string of homicides that to this day still remain unsolved. In the 70s, the serial killer would go to a local bar and draw caricatures of the people there drinking. After being drawn, man after man would leave with their killer to find a more secluded spot. This is how our serial killer got the nickname of the Doodler. The Doodler is responsible for as many as 14 murders in the San Francisco area, all of which were young to middle-aged gay men. The Doodler still to this day has not been identified.
And finally, number 1 on our list, the February 9th killer. In 2006, Sonia Mejia was relaxing in her apartment while being approximately 6 months pregnant. Late in the evening of February 9th, 2006, a man came into her apartment, raped, and strangled her, killing her and her unborn baby. The same day in 2008, Damiana Castillo was at her home alone when an unknown man broke in and, you guessed it, raped and strangled her. DNA forensics have tied this case along with the one 2 years earlier together, giving this serial killer the alias of the February 9th killer. In 2009, police released information saying he was a short Hispanic male in his late teens to early 20s. In 2011, the 2 murders were classified cold, and the killer has still yet to be found. If you enjoyed our video and want to help us grow, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as share our video with your friends.